You keep choosing the wrong person. Again and again. Different face, same pain. Different names, same patterns. You tell yourself this time will be different, but deep down, you know the truth. It never is. And here's what nobody wants to tell you. It's not them. It's not bad luck. It's not timing. It's the child inside you still bleeding from wounds you forgot you had. Still screaming from a pain you buried so deep you convinced yourself it disappeared. But trauma doesn't disappear. It waits. It watches. And it controls every relationship you'll ever have until you face it. Right now, your childhood is destroying your love life and you don't even know it. Let me show you how. Think about your last 3 relationships. Go ahead, really think about them. Notice anything? The same arguments. The same endings. The same emotional distance. You attract emotionally unavailable people like a magnet. Or maybe you're the one who runs when things get too real. You sabotage good things. You cling to toxic things. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's this voice saying you're not enough, you're too much, you're unlovable. That voice? It's not yours. It belongs to the child you used to be, the one who learned that love hurts, that closeness means pain, that vulnerability is dangerous. Psychology calls this attachment trauma. I call it the invisible prison most people live in without ever seeing the bars. Here's what happened. When you were young, your brain was a sponge. Every interaction with your parents, every moment of neglect, every harsh word, every time you were ignored when you needed comfort, it all got recorded. Not just in your memory, in your nervous system, in your body, in the deepest parts of your brain that control how you bond with others. If your parents were inconsistent, you learned that love is unpredictable. If they were cold, you learned that emotions are weakness. If they left, you learned that everyone leaves. If they were critical, you learned that you're never good enough. And now, decades later, you're an adult making adult decisions with a child's emotional programming. You're trying to build healthy relationships with broken blueprints. The worst part? You don't even realize you're doing it. It feels normal. It feels like just who you are. You tell yourself you have a type. You tell yourself you're just picky. You tell yourself that real love is supposed to be hard, supposed to hurt, supposed to make you prove yourself over and over again. But that's not love. That's trauma. That's your wounded inner child trying to fix the past by recreating it, hoping this time the ending will be different. Spoiler alert, it won't be. Not until you break the pattern. And breaking the pattern starts with recognizing the signs. So let's talk about what unresolved childhood trauma actually looks like in your relationships today, because I guarantee you're going to recognize yourself in at least one of these. Sign number 1, you're attracted to people who can't fully love you back. Emotionally unavailable. Commitment phobic. Hot and cold. They give you just enough to keep you hooked but never enough to feel secure. And somehow this feels right to you. It feels like chemistry. Feels like passion. But here's the truth psychology reveals. You're not attracted to them. You're attracted to the familiarity of uncertainty. If you grew up with a parent who was unpredictable, whose love felt conditional, whose attention you had to earn, then uncertainty feels like home. Safety feels boring. Someone who's actually available? They trigger your trauma because deep down, you don't believe you deserve consistent love. So you chase people who make you work for it, who make you prove yourself just like you had to as a child. And every time they pull away, every time they disappoint you, it confirms what you've always believed. You're not enough. Sign number 2, you have no boundaries or your boundaries are walls. There's no middle ground. Either you give everything, lose yourself completely, become whatever they need you to be, or you shut down entirely, keep everyone at arm's length, never let anyone truly see you. Both extremes come from the same wound. If your boundaries were violated as a child, if your needs were ignored, if you were taught that your feelings didn't matter, you never learned where you end and others begin. So now you either merge completely, terrified of abandonment, or you isolate completely, terrified of engulfment. Healthy relationships require healthy boundaries. But how can you set boundaries when you were never allowed to have any? How can you protect yourself when you were taught that protecting yourself is selfish? You can't. So you swing between giving too much and feeling resentful, or giving nothing and feeling lonely. Sign number 3, you're terrified of conflict. Even minor disagreements feel like the end of the world. You avoid confrontation at all costs. You suppress your needs. You walk on eggshells. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. You'd rather suffer in silence than risk upsetting someone. Because when you were a child, conflict wasn't just uncomfortable. It was dangerous. Maybe your parents fought viciously. Maybe expressing disagreement got you punished. Maybe love was withdrawn the moment you stepped out of line. So you learned that conflict equals abandonment. And now, as an adult, you sacrifice your own truth to keep the peace. You let people treat you badly because speaking up feels scarier than staying silent. But here's what that does to relationships. It builds resentment. It creates distance. It makes intimacy impossible. Because real intimacy requires honesty, and honesty sometimes means conflict. If you can't disagree with someone, you can't truly be yourself with them. Sign number 4. You self-sabotage when things are going well. This is the cruelest one. You finally meet someone good. Someone who actually treats you right. Someone who's available, consistent, loving. And suddenly you freak out. You pick fights over nothing. You look for flaws. You create distance. You cheat. You run. You destroy it before they can destroy you. What? Because happiness feels dangerous. If you grew up in chaos, if love came with conditions, if good moments were always followed by bad ones, your nervous system learned that peace is temporary. So when things are too good, your trauma kicks in and whispers, "This won't last." Better to end it now on your terms than wait for the inevitable pain. You push away the very thing you claim to want because receiving healthy love requires you to believe you deserve it. And if you don't believe that, every act of kindness feels like a lie, every moment of peace feels like the calm before the storm. Leave a comment right now if any of this is hitting too close to home. Because I know it is. I know you're watching this and feeling seen in a way that's both comforting and terrifying. That's the thing about trauma. It hides in plain sight, disguised as personality traits, as preferences, as just the way you are. But it's not who you are. It's what happened to you. And what happened to you is still happening, every single day in every relationship until you decide to heal it. Sign number 5. You confuse intensity with intimacy. The drama. The jealousy. The obsession. The constant highs and lows. You think that's passion. You think that's love. But it's not. It's activation. It's your nervous system in fight or flight mode. It's trauma bonding. Real intimacy is calm. It's safe. It's boring by comparison. But if you grew up in an unstable environment, calm feels wrong. It feels empty. So you create chaos to feel alive. You pick partners who trigger you because being triggered feels like connection. You mistake anxiety for attraction. And you stay in toxic relationships way longer than you should because the intensity convinces you it must mean something. But all it means is that you're both wounded. Two broken people trying to fix each other while making each other worse. Psychology calls this repetition compulsion. You're not choosing these people by accident. You're unconsciously recreating your childhood dynamics, hoping to master them this time. But you never do. Because you can't heal in the same environment that hurt you. Sign number 6. You're codependent. You need constant reassurance. You check their phone. You monitor their every move. You make their feelings your responsibility. You can't be happy unless they're happy. You lose yourself in the relationship. You don't know where you end and they begin. This isn't love. This is fear. Fear of abandonment so deep that you'll do anything, sacrifice anything, become anything to keep them from leaving. If you experienced neglect or abandonment as a child, your brain developed an obsessive need for proximity. You learned that people leave, so you grip tighter. You learned that your needs weren't important, so you make yourself indispensable by meeting everyone else's needs. But codependency isn't closeness. It's desperation. And desperation repels the very connection you crave. Because healthy people don't want to be needed like that. They want to be chosen freely, not clung to desperately. Sign number 7. You attract narcissists, manipulators, and emotionally abusive people. Over and over again. And you stay way longer than you should. You make excuses for their behavior. You blame yourself. You believe you can fix them, change them, love them enough to make them better. What? Because if you grew up with a narcissistic or emotionally abusive parent, that dynamic feels like love to you. The unpredictability. The gaslighting. The breadcrumbing. The cycle of idealization and devaluation. Your nervous system recognizes it. It's familiar. And trauma survivors don't seek what's healthy. They seek what's familiar. You're trying to win the love you never got as a child by choosing partners who replicate that same wound. But you can't win. Because the game is rigged. The only way to stop attracting these people is to heal the part of you that thinks this is what you deserve. Drop a comment if you've ever felt stuck in this cycle. Because the algorithm needs to know that people need to hear this. That your pain isn't unique. That you're not broken. That trauma is real and its effects on relationships are devastating but not permanent. Sign number 8. You don't trust anyone. Not fully. Not really. You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Always looking for signs of betrayal. Always testing their loyalty. You keep parts of yourself hidden because you learned early that vulnerability is weakness. If your trust was betrayed as a child, if the people who were supposed to protect you hurt you instead, you developed hypervigilance. You learn to scan for danger constantly. And now you bring that into every relationship. You can't relax. You can't surrender. You can't believe someone when they say they love you because love, in your experience, came with pain. So you protect yourself by never fully letting anyone in. But here's the cost. You'll never experience true intimacy. Because intimacy requires vulnerability. And vulnerability requires trust. And if you can't trust, you can't truly connect. You'll always be alone even when you're with someone. Sign number 9. You have a distorted view of what love actually is. You think love means suffering. You think it means sacrifice. You think it means fixing someone. You think it's supposed to be hard, supposed to hurt, supposed to require you to prove yourself constantly. Because that's what you learned. If your parents' love was conditional, if you had to earn affection through achievement or good behavior, if love was used as a weapon or withdrawn as punishment, then you internalized a twisted version of love. And now you recreate that in your adult relationships. You choose partners who make you work for it, who make you feel like you have to earn their affection, who criticize you the way your parents did, who withhold the way your parents did. And you call it love because it feels familiar. But it's not love. It's reenactment. It's your inner child still trying to get mommy or daddy to finally see you, finally choose you, finally love you unconditionally. But they never will. Because they're not your parents. And even if they were, you can't fix the past in the present. Sign number 10, you don't believe you deserve better. Deep down, beneath all the bravado, beneath all the self-help books and therapy speak, there's a core belief that you're fundamentally unworthy. That something is wrong with you. That you're damaged goods. That if people really knew you, they'd leave. This belief runs so deep you're not even aware of it most of the time. But it influences everything. Every partner you choose. Every boundary you fail to set. Every time you stay when you should go. Every time you accept less than you deserve. Because you don't believe you deserve more. And this belief didn't come from nowhere. It came from experiences that taught you that you're not valuable. That your needs don't matter. That you're too much or not enough. And until you challenge this belief, until you dig it up from its roots and examine it in the light, it will control your entire relational life. Here's the hardest truth. You can't love someone else healthily if you haven't healed your relationship with yourself. You can't build a healthy relationship on a foundation of unresolved trauma. You can't expect someone else to fix what was broken in your childhood. That's not their job. It's yours. And I know that sounds harsh. I know you're exhausted. I know you've been trying. But trying without awareness is just repeating. And repeating without healing is just suffering. So what do? How do you break free from patterns that have controlled your entire life? How do you heal wounds you didn't even know you had? First, you name it. You stop pretending your relationship problems are just bad luck. You acknowledge that your childhood affected you. That trauma is real. That the patterns you're seeing aren't coincidence. They're consequences. Second, you feel it. You stop running from the pain. You stop numbing it. You stop distracting yourself. You sit with the feelings you've been avoiding your entire life. The abandonment, the worthlessness, the shame. You let yourself grieve the childhood you didn't have, the parents who couldn't love you the way you needed, the safety you never felt. Third, you get help. Therapy isn't weakness. It's courage. Find a trauma-informed therapist who understands attachment wounds. Someone who can help you rewire the neural pathways that have kept you stuck. Because you can't think your way out of trauma. You have to heal it somatically, emotionally, relationally. Fourth, you do the inner child work. You learn to reparent yourself. You give yourself the validation, the safety, the unconditional love you never received. You learn to recognize when your inner child is activated and you respond with compassion instead of criticism. Fifth, you change your patterns consciously. You notice when you're about to choose another unavailable person and you choose differently. You notice when you're about to sabotage something good and you pause. You notice when you're about to ignore a red flag and you honor it. Change requires consciousness. You have to catch yourself in the act of repeating old patterns and choose new behaviors even when they feel wrong, even when they feel uncomfortable, even when every cell in your body is screaming to go back to what's familiar. Sixth, you surround yourself with people who model healthy relationships. You can't become what you've never seen. If you've never witnessed secure attachment, you need to learn it. Join support groups. Find mentors. Build friendships with people who have done their own healing work. Seventh, you practice self-compassion. You stop beating yourself up for the patterns you developed to survive. Those patterns served you once. They protected you when you were powerless. Thank them. Honor them. And then release them. Because what protected you as a child is imprisoning you as an adult. And finally, you accept that healing isn't linear. You're going to mess up. You're going to slip back into old patterns. You're going to choose wrong again. And that's okay. That's part of the process. Healing trauma is peeling an onion, layer after layer after layer. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about becoming aware. It's about choosing differently a little more often. It's about building a relationship with yourself that's so solid, so secure, so full of love that you stop seeking external validation. You stop trying to fill childhood voids with adult relationships. You become whole within yourself. And from that wholeness, you can finally build healthy connections. Your relationships are mirrors. They reflect back to you what you believe about yourself, what you learned about love, what you think you deserve. If you keep seeing the same reflection, it's time to change what you're projecting. It's time to heal the child who's been running your love life from the shadows. It's time to break the cycle. Not just for you, but for everyone who will come after you. Because trauma is generational. It passes down from parent to child to grandchild until someone in the line says enough. Let that someone be you. Let this be the moment you decide that your past doesn't get to write your future. That your childhood trauma doesn't get to destroy your chance at healthy love. You are not broken. You are not unlovable. You are not too damaged. You are a survivor carrying wounds that weren't your fault. And those wounds can heal. The patterns can change. The cycle can break. But only if you choose it. Only if you do the work. Only if you face what you've been running from your entire life. So comment below and tell me which sign hit you the hardest. Tell me where you are in your healing journey. Tell me if you're ready to break the cycle. Because the first step to change is acknowledgement. The second step is action. And the third step is persistence. Your childhood happened to you. But your future is still yours to create. Choose wisely. Choose healing. Choose yourself.